All right, everyone. So let's first go ahead and take a look at what you will be building in multiple videos because this is a long process. So in this particular 3 or 4 videos, whatever, you're going to be building a to-do list application which is connected to the iCloud using CloudKit. So this is the appearance of the app. You can see that there's a filter. You can do all, completed, incomplete. I can go ahead and add a new task. I can say mow the lawn. And the task that I added is added on the top. I can say mow the lawn and it will be in the completed. Now, if you want to move it to completed, I mean, all tasks are all tasks. So completed tasks, you can see incompleted tasks, you can see over here, right? You can also delete the task if you want. That's perfectly fine. So this is what you'll be building. It's all connected to CloudKit. Thank you, and let's go ahead and get started. So now that you have seen the actual application we'll be building, let's go ahead and get started. So I've already created a SwiftUI project, as you can see. We haven't really typed in any code, so just a basic default project. The first thing I need to do is to make sure that the CloudKit is enabled. So I'm going to go to my actual project and go to Signing and Capabilities. And then we can add a capability. There are many different things you can add in capabilities. So just go ahead and search for iCloud and you will get the option of iCloud. You can double click on it and it will add it. Now there are a couple of different things we need to enable also. We'll enable key value storage and CloudKit. And the other thing that you need to create is a container. The container is different for each app, so you have to make sure that you're using a unique name. So let me go ahead and add a container. Okay, so what should we name our container? I'll say com.azamsharp. And let's just say hello to do. So hopefully this container is not already created, but let's go ahead and check it out. Now, when you are doing this, and if this fails, then you also have to make sure that you are signed in and everything, meaning to iCloud. Okay, so make sure that you are signed in and everything is good into iCloud. So from your Xcode, you can go to Xcode preferences and just make sure that you are actually, signed in over here and all that stuff. And you will need to sign into iCloud when you're using the simulator, but just make sure that you are signed in. Okay, so this looks good, iCloud.com. And I think we only type com.azamsharp.hello to do. iCloud is added by default. You can always go to the CloudKit console, which is like a web interface where you can see what's going on. So if I click on it, I can go to this page. I can click on the CloudKit database. And you can see that over here, it has selected some other to-do app. So look for the hello to do. And now you can see the hello to do. You have many different kind of databases, I guess, over here. Let's go ahead and refresh. You can see that this page is not really, it's a buggy. It's a little bit buggy. Okay. Public database, which means that anyone will be able to access it. Private is for you, meaning only for you, for your ID, and shared is if you want to share certain things with other person. Well, we'll be mostly dealing with the private database. And users, it's already created. I think it's by default, but record type means what type of records we are saving. So we will create some sort of a task record or a task item record, and we will use that. All right. So looks like it's fine. Let's go back now. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is, save a particular record. All right. The quickest way to do that, let's go to the content view. The content view looks fine. There's nothing really going on over here. We can remove the content view and add kind of like a new group, and I will call it screens, which is going to represent every single screen in our app, and we'll only have one screen as you have already seen in the demo. I'll go ahead and add a new view. We'll call it to-do list screen. We're going to list the to-do items Not only we're going to list it, we are also going to allow the user to add them to the database. We don't really need content view anymore, so we can delete that part. And now go to the hello to do, because now your main screen, the root screen, is to do list screen. So we're just going to go ahead and change it over there. Okay, so now we are on the to-do list screen. And what do we want to do in the to-do list screen? Well, let's go ahead and add a VStack first. We can add a text field where we can write the actual, task name. In order to capture that, we're going to go ahead and create a state variable, task name. There we go. And now we can go ahead and create a text field. So let me go ahead and type at least, or copy a little bit of stuff so that we don't have to create the text field. There we go. So we got our text field. I can go ahead and say a spacer to push everything up. And instead of a button, how about we just return from the text field? If we press enter on the text field, then we want this particular stuff to happen. All right. Now action will be based on, I think you can do any way you want on the text. All right. Triggers when the originating text controls and secure fields. But I think if you just use a submit, that's also fine, by the way. Okay, there we go. And we can try to use the on submit also. I mean, that should be the same thing in our case, at least. So this on submit is going to get fired whenever you're typing in the text box and you press, well, enter or return. Let's add a little bit of padding. But right now, we can't really do anything on submit because, well, we don't really have any way to save to the iCloud. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. We'll call it models. And I will create a model. Now over here, what I'm creating is a actual item, a record that I want to save in iCloud. So I'm just going to call it task item. This will represent each item that I want to save in iCloud. All right. So let's go ahead and create the struct over here. Task item. What do we need in task item? Well, we need a couple of different things. We need a name. We need some sort of a date assigned, meaning the date which this item was created, a to-do list was created. And we will also need, which I like to call the record ID, because everything in the CloudKit database does have a record ID, which is like a primary key. Now, since it is reading it from CK record, let's go ahead and import CloudKit also so we can use it. All right. Now, in CloudKit, if you're trying to save any record on CloudKit, right over here, it has to be a CK record. The task item is simple struct. It's not a CK record. So what we can do is we can create an extension on the task item, which can return us a CK record. There we go. And instead of typing in the name over here or the name of the record, like task item, we can do a little bit more better stuff. So if I say a task item over here, the record type will come task item and users. I think user is just created by default, but record type, you will have one more called task item. But I don't really want to put the string over here, right? I mean, it just looks kind of weird. So what we can do is we can create different keys for it. So I'm going to go ahead and create right over here. That's fine. And I will call it task item. Next, I can replace this by saying task record keys dot type dot raw value. All right, so this is going to be assigned task item. So it's a little bit better. I think you can easily change it one place and then it will be everywhere. Okay. All right. So what else can we do over here? Well, the other thing is when you are fetching the items, we will need another way to create those things, but we'll get to that later. Right now, I think it looks good. We have a task item. We can get a record, which we can save to the CloudKit or iCloud using CloudKit. Now, if I go back over here, should I start typing code for the CloudKit over here? I want to separate it out a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and create some sort of a aggregate model. I'm just going to call it model because our app is small. You can call it to-do model or whatever. This will be our entry point. Our view is going to communicate with the model, and the model is going to persist everything to the database. I'll call it model. In a small app like this, you don't really need multiple aggregate models. One model can be perfectly fine for the whole app. If your application is getting bigger, then you can divide, you can create more aggregate model, also sometimes known as facades. You can do that. But right now, our application is small. We can just use one model. I'm going to decorate it with main actor. Now the model will be responsible for keeping track of all the task items. So I'm just going to go ahead and create an array of task item called tasks, and it will be marked with publish property or publish property wrapper, so that whenever someone assigns tasks, it can tell the view that, hey, you may need to update. All right. Next, we need to get a reference to the private cloud database. We're saving it in the private database and not public or shared, because these are to-do list tasks. I don't really want anyone else to see my to-do list task. I don't want to share it with anyone. So this will be perfectly fine. And finally, now we will implement the add task function. So you are going to pass in, somebody is going to pass in the task item, async throws. Okay. And now we need to save it. Now the good news is that the CloudKit does contain the async function, which makes your life easier. You can see the async function over here. It's saying that you need to pass in the record, and it's going to return you the record. Okay. So I can go ahead and I can call that function. Well, where is the record? Well, we added the record property on the task item, so we can get that record that way. This can blow up, and it's an async function, so try await. And it is going to give us the record, meaning the saved record. Now somehow we need to convert this saved record into a task and then save it into the task array so that the published property can get changed and the view can update. Okay, but how do we do that? Well, we go back to the task item and we create an initializer for the task item, which means that the default initializer is the one that takes in the record ID, name, date assigned is completed. So I'm going to go ahead and create an extension. And the reason I'm creating an extension is I don't want to get rid of this one. This is fine with me. So I don't really want to get rid of this one. And that is why I want to use the extension function or extension and then create the initializer so that I don't get rid of the default initializer created by Swift by default. So I created this initializer, and it's simply going to read the stuff into properties and then initialize your object. Let's go back. Now we can go back to our add task. We have the record, but we need to convert this record into a task. So we can say guard let task equals to task item. And you can see that now I still have my default initializer that Swift has created and the record, the new initializer that I just created, and I can go ahead and pass something over there. Else, well, we're going to take a look at it later, what we can do with else. And now we can go ahead and say task dot append and then add the task. All right. Since the task is marked with publish, anytime you're going to change the task array, it's going to tell the view that, hey, you need to reevaluate yourself and probably you need to re-render yourself also. Okay, so let's see how we can do that part. I'm going to go back to the to-do list screen. Now the question is, well, how do we access the model? How do we access this part? And this is an interesting question, that how can we access the model? I usually just like to insert the model in environment object. So I'm just going to go ahead and say environment object, and I can say model. For your actual application, Hello To Do app, you should also do this, because when you actually run the app, this Hello To Do app is the one that gets executed. So let's go ahead and execute it over here also. Let's go back. Now we should be able to access the model through the use of environment object. So all I need to do is to add the environment object. There we go. And now I can call all those functions that were available to me. The first thing I need to do is to create a task. So task equals to task item. Obviously, it should be a good idea to do a little bit of validation. So make sure when you click or submit, you validate that it's not empty, but we can add that later. All right, or you can add that. Just check out some of the old videos that I was doing. I was doing the validation in that. Okay, so we get the date. That's great. We get the task. And now we can say model.addTask, but we can't really call addTask over here because it's an async function, and we are not really in the context of async. Not to worry. We should be able to wrap this with a task and get this thing working. There we go. And finally, make sure that we set the name. Well, we can put everything, I guess, over there. Oh, like, here we go. Oh, wait. And after this is done, we can go ahead and say task name equals to empty. Okay. So hopefully this is going to save our task, whatever the task that we are typing in over here in the text box. All right. And we can also try to display the task quickly. So let's go ahead and see if we can display the task. Model.task, we can go ahead and loop through the array. ID, let's see, record ID, that's fine, I guess. We can try to use a record ID. We will get the task, and we will try to display task.name. Right now, there are no tasks. So right now, it's not displaying. Another thing, we need to make sure that we are running it in a simulator, not over here in the Xcode preview. And the reason is that at least I don't know how you can log into your iCloud in Xcode previews. If you find a way, let me know. So that is why I'm going to go ahead and run it in an actual simulator. And make sure that you are signed in to iCloud. If you're not signed into the iCloud, then it's not going to work at all. So let me actually first show you how you can sign into iCloud using your simulator. All right, let's go ahead and run the app first. Okay, let's go back. And if you want to sign in, you just go to settings over here. And right there, you have to click over here and then sign in, okay, with your iCloud. Now let's go back. Hello to do. Okay, let's go ahead and type something over here. Let's say feed the rabbit. And I press enter. You can see that right now I did press enter, but nothing really is going on. I mean, I don't really see anything going on over here. I don't really see any errors. So the question is, did it even fire? And if it did fire, why didn't it save it? All right. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. Let's go ahead and pause this. All right, so it turns out the problem was mainly related to a bug in CloudKit or bug in iOS Simulator. Basically, what you need to do if it's not saving is you need to go to your settings. And you can already see that I'm signed in, right? But I would sign out and then sign back in. And then hopefully it will work. One of the other things you can do is I'm using a try over here, but I don't really have a do and catch. You can wrap this around with do and catch, and you will find out that it's not able to find your container with the ID icloud.com.azamsharp.hello to do. If that's the error and you have set up everything correctly, then go to the simulator and sign it out and sign back in. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and run this in the simulator. because if you run it in Xcode preview, well, I'm not really sure how you can sign into iCloud over there. I'm going to say mow the lawn. Okay, and there we go. We got mow the lawn over here. That is cool, right? Okay, now let's go on to the cloud, meaning the console, and try to see that how we can display information over here. This will be kind of like your dashboard. You will be able to see task item over here because that's a new record that we have created. But if you click on query records, it's not going to work because it's going to say that, hey, you need to make it queryable or queryable. So let's go to the records, or is it data? Let's see. Oh, sorry, indexes. Let's go to the indexes. Let's click on the task item. And I already added that, but you would go ahead and add a new index on record name and make sure it is queryable. So that will be from adding a basic index and then selecting the record name. So make sure you do that. If you don't do that, you will not be able to view the items on the dashboard. And then obviously make sure to click the save button. I have already done that, so I don't have to do it again. Record name is already there. I can go back to my records, select the correct database. We are using the private database and the record type task item. And let's do query records. Hopefully we'll see one record. There we go. Now, whenever we save a record using our iOS simulator, it's not instantly that it gets added over here. It sometimes takes a little bit of time. All right. You can click on the record to see other stuff. There we go. So we have a is completed, which is a Boolean flag. It's false, it's 0. We have dates assigned the current date and mow the lawn. So it looks like we are able to at least save as well as display our CloudKit information. So if I run this, you can see, well, right now, I guess we're not even fetching, right? When the app is launched, we're not really fetching anything. So we need to figure out how to do that also. So let's go ahead and look into that. All right, so the next step would be to populate all the tasks so that when we load our application, when we run our application, we should be able to see all the tasks that are coming from the iCloud, but we don't. So let's go to the model. And in the model, this is the aggregate model, by the way. And I'll add some articles also in the YouTube description so you can read about the MV architecture. That is the architecture that Apple is actually using to build SwiftUI application. You can use MVVM or any other architecture like TCA or something. That's fine. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a function called populate tasks. And this will be async throws. So the first thing we need to do when we are fetching the task is to create a query, which we will run against the database. So we'll create a query and we will call it record type. Like what kind of records are we fetching? I will say task record keys dot type dot raw value. So basically we're fetching record item types and the predicate, meaning is there any predicate you want to set up? In this case, the predicate is kind of like a filter that you're setting up, but I'm just going to go ahead and say true, which means that give me everything, meaning give me all the tasks. You can sort the task also. I can go ahead and create sort descriptors, NS sort descriptor for a particular key, date assigned. We will say false, so that all the particular to-do list items are returned in descending order. Next up, we will say records, and we can use the async function since we are inside populate task, which is also async, and pass in the query. This is async function, so we have to use try and wait, and we'll get some sort of a result. Next, we need to get the records. And this is where I don't really like the CloudKit API that they have developed, because it must be or should have been a little bit more easier way to find the records. But you'll see that I have to go through match results.compactmap, and I have to do all of this stuff just to get the actual result, which is kind of like a lot of stuff, lot I have to type. Now let's go ahead and see what's going on actually before I type in. So match results dot compact map, which basically means that it's going to remove the null things. So if there is a null document or a record, it will remove it. But if you look at what you actually get back, you will get back the ID, which is the first in a tuple, the first item. And the second one is the actual record that you want. And even in the second one, you want, basically the second one is the one that you want. All right. So kind of like weird that they have developed it this way, but let's go ahead and try to grab the items. Try question mark because I think it needs that. We're going to select the first 0.1, so basically the first tuple, and then we'll get it. All right. Kind of weird way to do this. I do wonder why they went with this kind of a API design. It looks very weird. But anyway, now we can go, we have the records, but we want to convert these records into task item so we can display it on the screen, because on the view, everything is task item. So records dot, again, well, I don't know if I have to do compact map anymore, so I can simply do map, and I should be able to call or return the task item and pass in the record. Well, in this case, $0, because we are inside the map function. This is going to return us something that we're going to assign back to the task array. Okay. And this is saying now, again, so I guess the main reason task item can actually return you null, and that's why we will use compact max to forget about the nils. And that's pretty much it. Now we can go back to our to-do list screen, and in the to-do list screen, we can try to fire this particular function. Okay, so let's find out where to call this. Probably right over here is fine. We'll say .task, the task modifier. This is going to be called whenever the to-do list screen view is loaded. And we'll have do catch also. Right now, we're not going to really print out the error, but right now we're just going to, not going to display the error, but just going to print it out. Eventually, you'll learn how to do that. Try await model dot populate task. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and build it and run it. Okay, so now we can see the task automatically appearing, mow the lawn. Let's say that if I say feed the cat, is it going to appear or not? Okay, there we go. Feed the cat is appearing. So we are able to add these items. Now, if I go back to my actual container on the CloudKit console, I wonder if I can see these items, and you can see that those items are there. All right, let's go ahead and add another item. We'll say mow the lawn. Let's say clean dishes. Okay, and let's refresh it. You can see it's not like it's not instantly that those items are available, right? I'm doing a query records, but those items are not available, or at least the new one that we inserted. The reason that it is inserted over here is because when we added the item, we actually changed the task array. So even though the task is not really saved, it is appearing, giving user an illusion that, okay, you have added the task. You can see that it's been like, what, 10 seconds? There we go. Now, eventually it does come up. Here's the clean the dishes. Not sure why it takes so much time for CloudKit. Maybe that's just some natural behavior, because CloudKit is mainly used for syncing stuff. So maybe that's the reason that it eventually say, okay, I need to sync up some stuff. All right. Okay. So in this first video, you have learned how to add a particular task to CloudKit database or iCloud, and you have also learned how to populate all the tasks on the screen. And eventually, you'll see that you'll be learning about filtering the tasks, deleting the tasks, updating the tasks, all of those things. So we're going to take one step at a time. All right. Thank you very much. And make sure you can download this code. The link will be right there in the YouTube description. And if you like this video, there should be a thanks button right in the YouTube video also in that particular page. And you can, if you're generous, you can donate something. I can buy some coffee and drink some coffee. That's pretty much it. But thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more. If you like this video and want to support my channel, then check out my courses on Udemy. I have a lot of different courses on iOS technology. You can see my courses for SwiftUI. I have courses on augmented reality. I even have a brand new course that I just announced, which is for UIKit. With UIKit, we're not forgetting you. If you want to learn UIKit, I have a course for you. You can see I have also another really good course for MV design pattern. I definitely encourage you to check this out and see how to truly unleash the power of SwiftUI. And I have other courses on core data, test-driven development, and much more. So definitely check out the links in the description. Thank you so much.